Hi everyone. I'm going to have to apologise for a few things. One, I'm still using my broken arm, which Steve has managed to jerry-rig for me. Two, I've got a little visitor, four-legged, my son's dog Murphy, as you can hear in the background. Been quiet, and now he starts. So I'm just going to see if I can persuade him to leave that toy alone. And three, Amazon with the new cradle should be arriving soon. Right, let's see if I can get that noisy toy off him. Hold on. Murphy, good boy. Right, you can come in here, but that toy has to go. Move out of the way. Good boy. Right, come in here and sit. Sorry everyone, I'm back. Oh, right, hi. Oh, yay. Right, I'm just, yeah, I think I'm okay screen wise. Brilliant. I will try, if I need to zoom in, I will try my best to actually move in. Okay, you know, you just go best laid plans. And even better, so we don't miss Leonie, your man across the road is going off on a motorbike. So we might actually hear a motorbike, so we can envisage that Leonie is actually here with us after all. Oh, right. Hi Alison, Arwen, David, Sarah. Hi Mandy. Hi Julie, Karina. Hiya Creative Magpie, Jackie, Jenny, Lucy, Carol. Oh, no, I know you're here, but you can't come and help me, Murph. Right, tonight. Oh, there goes the motorbike. We'll just let him pass, shall we? See, look, Leonie sent, you know, Leonie didn't want to be missing out on the live, so she decided that she'd send the motor guy here. Hi Di, hi Jill, hi Ali. I think he might be a little bit noisier than the ones at Leonie's place, but hey ho. Right, okay, I'm gonna settle down. So tonight I'm going to be doing a mixture. Well, I'm not. Well, I hope I am. I'm going to be using the new nature collection. So I'm going to be mixing in the stencils, the stamps, explaining a little bit about what I've done with the stamps. And I'm going to be using them, just going to move them out of the way, with the Personal Impressions Woodless watercolour pencils. Now, I know Mandy's put a fabulous deal together. It is Nikki, isn't it? Wow. So the Woodless watercolour pencils, so what they are is they are pure pigment in a pencil, no wood at all. They do have a plastic coating, or what feels like a plastic coating on the outside, but that's just so you can hold them and the pigment doesn't come off in your hands. And you get 12 of them. Obviously my set is well used. Now when you get yours, this is a workshop set I use, you'll get the card at the front which tells you the colour, but also inside you'll also get a little swatch card, and this has been printed onto watercolour card, so it means you can swatch out all the different pencils. There's even a square black, because obviously we have a white in there, and that comes with the pencils. Now the other thing, I'm just going to put that back so I don't lose it. Now the other thing that in the same bundle is a 2-hole sharpener. And this is for sharpening your pencils if you want to. I always use the larger hole, only because I can have a slightly more rounded end to the actual pencil. Hi Patricia, hi Alison. I'm not on YouTube, Karina, because I can't get my streaming to work, because I come via Leonie's page and it doesn't like me putting too many things via the page. So I've given up wrestling with it now. And I just do Facebook, so I do apologise. I think Leonie does load them to YouTube. So it's got the pencil, and the reason for that is because this is pure pigment. If I sharpen these, so which one needs a bit of sharpening? Let's do the green one here. So I'm just going to sharpen it. It's up to you if you make them a point or you don't make them a point. And all that's going to happen is all the pigment from there, rather than bin it, it's now sitting in the bottom of the container. Okay, So it sits in there. And this is where the clamshell, which is also part of the deal, comes in. So this is a palette. I actually had to clean mine because I managed to spill red all over it and everything was getting tinted red. So it opens up. She says, sorry, I've got the dog here with me. Where are you? Please come back. Thank you. Right, so it opens up and it opens up. So it does 3 different ways, 3 different compartments. And hi, Brian. Hi, Sylvia. So this is all where I would actually put the shaving. So I know that that's that colour there. And all I'm going to do is I just tip the shavings in and I would add a tiny little bit of water. Where's my water bottle? I'm using, I would normally use a little bit of hot water. And for no other reason than it dissolves it quicker. If it's slightly warm water. So I make myself a coffee and then just keep a little bit. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to melt that pigment down and it becomes my own watercolour pan. And then when they're dry, I've got another set of colours. It means I can mix sharpenings together to create even more colours. So I can mix the 2 colours there to create like an orange red. I can create a darker grey or a blue grey. So the palette's there, and obviously you've got areas to mix your colours on and work from. And if you like to hold it, it's got a hole in there, so you can actually hold it and work with it at the same time. So that's why the whole bundle is as it is. My grandkids, I've just seen that. Oh, I had these pencils, my grandkids pinch them. Patricia, it's not actually my dog. Sadly, I'm dog sitting for my son. So yeah, he's called Murphy. He's a beautiful gingery Cocker Spaniel, and we know we've got him. He's 2 years old. So that is the deal that Mandy's put together. So it's the pencils, the clamshell, and the sharpener. Obviously, you can use the sharpener with your ordinary pencils and other things as well. And I believe that there's 10% off. So, but don't forget with your sharpenings as well. So if we sharpen another one, these can go in with, now I did get them out. Did I get them out? You know when you go, did I get them out? So if I grab a spatula, well, that sounded rather poosh, didn't it? Spatula. Now, the purist in people may want to clean this out because I did green before, but you know when you go, I don't, it gives you a different depth to it. So let's, just going to choose another one that might need a bit of sharpening. So we'll just do this pinky one. So I'm just going to sharpen this up a little bit. You don't need to sharpen them up very much. You don't need to sharpen them at all. There's other ways of doing that. So if I move the clamshell out just for the moment, and Murphy down, there's a good boy. And he wants to come and say hello, but he will just, right, so I've got that little bit in there, and what I want to do is I just want to grab a piece of card, and I did cut myself some, or I got a book out, and we'll do this bit here. So I can take, if I take some of the texture paste, and I'm just going to mix mine up, and I really should do this on another sheet, but where is I put it? You know, oh good, oh, I'll clean the mat up. So if I put a little bit of texture paste, or this could be gel medium, and I'm going to put a bit of the pencil shavings in, and you keep mixing. Depending on how many shavings you put in, will, you know, will be the intensity of the colour. So that's quite light. So I can now change the colour of my texture paste. So if I put a few more in, well, if I just do this one, and you can see, so this is it. And I haven't mixed it up well. I love that because it's got a few little bits of granulations in as well. So let's put a few more in. I want to save some for something else. You can do exactly the same with a gel medium or a clear gesso. Okay, so there. If you've got those little pots, you could always put, once you've mixed it, you could put them in there. So if I go along, so the more colour, and if I put that through a stencil, that would work absolutely perfectly through a stencil. Now this seems a bit of a waste, but I'll just put that to one side, and I might use it on a project. Let's move you over there and clean that up. So now the other thing you can do with them is, I did say about a gel medium. This is my Bond and Seal, and I'm just going to put some on my mat. So if I add a small amount to my Bond and Seal, I can now still seal everything like a rice paper, act like a glue, but now I've made it have a colour, so it becomes a glaze, a coloured glaze. So we can put all that together. Again, the more you add, the deeper the colour of the glaze. You want something a little bit more subtle, you only need to put a few little bits in. So now it means I can create a coloured glaze, and that could go over my rice papers, ephemera pieces, stickers, and now I'm gluing it in place, but I'm gluing it in place with a colour. So you can do all of those. Hi Carol. So your pencil shavings, other than making your own pans, you can do a spray as well, Julie, but I'm not going to do that, only because I don't trust the dog to be around me. Oh, actually I will. Let me just put this in some water. Get my water pot out, which I didn't fill. Oh, there he is. I'm just looking to see. You can now, to make a spray, it is better with slightly warmer water. Okay, so let's just put the paintbrush in there and tidy up a few bits and pieces. So tidy that way. So you can get a little mister bottle. Warm water, as I said, is probably your best friend for this, only because it dissolves it just that little bit quicker. Again, depending on how much you put in, will be the intensity of the colour. That's a very tidy. I'm quite tidy, I think, on the whole, Mandy. Sorry, all I'm doing is squirting some water over a cloth, only because I don't make a mess. I suppose, yeah. Right, now when I prefer to hold my finger over and mix a colour, only because of the tube, because it hasn't quite dissolved yet. I don't want any of those granulations getting stuck up the spritzer tube, and then we can't spray it out. So I'll just put that in there. I haven't mixed up very much, I'm just double checking. As I said, warm water just melts it or dissolves it or whatever. Let's just tear you off and I'll use you another day. Okay, so we can then, she says, I trust me to pick one that's blocked. Typical, I pick one that's blocked. Oh well. Anyhow, you get what I mean. It would work as a spray if I didn't pick one that's blocked. So that needs to be well and truly a new spray head. I'm going to try that later. I'm going to see if I can soak it in some... Yeah, no, it's blocked. Oh, you monkey. Right. But that's the principle, right? I'm going to put you there before I put you back. But that's the principle that you would go. So you could create your own... You could mix a red and a yellow together to make your own orange, a lighter green, so on, you know, so on and so forth. But that's some of the things you can do with the pencil shavings if you decide to sharpen it. And you don't just have to sharpen them for those reasons. It's a great way of colour coordinating everything very, very quickly. And very few, as you saw, very few of those sharpenings were needed to actually colour tint anything. I'm just going to put them back in here. We're not used to a tidy desk. Oh, okay. Yeah. I am relatively tidy, yeah. I mean, I have moments where I'm really, really messy, but then it gets to the stage where it frustrates me, so I then have to tidy up. So yeah, so all I'm doing is there. I could have added it to that one there, but we'll just and I just let them dry. And when they dry, they create the other pans. So let's just grab a paintbrush. So I can easily pick up another colour. So if I went for the green, you can still reactivate it. Where's that piece of card I was trying to spray on? So you can still reactivate it. Even though, I mean, it won't be probably as intense because obviously we've added water to it, and I'm now adding more water to it. But you can then pick it up and use it as if it was a watercolour pan. So you're really creating your own watercolour pans as such. Okay, so, and 9 times out of 10, that's how I use mine, more for that. As I said, I managed to spill red all the way down here and everything was getting tinted red. So, tidy my craft space. We have anti-clogging updates on the Facebook. Ah, that's probably what I need. That amount of table space is a bit scary. Oh, die. Sylvia, I know the gloss sprays are lovely, aren't they? But they do block. That's why she brought out the droppers in the end. Right, sorry, I'm being rude and having a bit of a drink of a coffee. Okay, so I thought we'd do some different things using the pencils and using the stamps. And one of the things I wanted to do was, where is it? I just wanted to show a way of using the stencils in a different way, but with the pencils. So I'm going to take one of the stencils from Natural. Sorry, Mandy, I've got rid of all my packaging, so I don't know what this one's called. Oh, yes, I do. Sorry, grass. Okay. Doesn't matter which way round you use it, but I thought it would be nice to colour this up in a completely different way using the pencils, just to show you a different technique. Now, I could easily put, you know, some tape over there if I didn't want that to go, but, you know, really don't mind. I've got a blending sponge. I wash mine. I put them in an old pair of socks and put them through the dish, either through the dishwasher or the washing machine, depending which ones needs to go on next. So I'm just catching up with some of the comments. While you're online, what is the brush blush cleaner? Keep mentioning. Okay, the Cadence brush cleaner. Basically, it's a brush cleaner that will degunk your brushes. And Leonie was moaning about having to cut loads of hers down to me and making them all stipple brushes, and I suggested that maybe she should try the cleaner and she might be able to rescue some of the brushes that she's paid quite a bit of money for. Hi, Angela. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just using a blending sponge. This is one of the Ranger ones. It can be any ones you've got. You could technically use a cloth. The only reason I'm using this is because it comes with a handle. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to build this colour up slowly. And I'm just going to put a little bit of water on here. And all, whoa, stay there, lid. And all I'm going to do is just take the pencil, and where I've squirted some water, I'm rubbing it over. Now, this is another way that you can sharpen the pencils, because obviously, as you're going round like that, you can make your point bigger. So, and I'm then just going to use it to pull in from the side. Now, what I want to do is I want to use the stencil with the pencils to give the illusion that I've taken all Leonie's hard work for the stencil and created my own like watercolor picture. Now, as you can see, a little water and a little pencil goes quite a long way. So I want some of them lighter and we can have some of them darker. So as you can see, that's the stenciling underneath, and I could leave it just like that. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to pick my tool up. See, the desk is too tidy, things are rolling off it. Stay. So you can still see, you can use it like that way to create your stencil, and you could carry on building. We're going to do something a little bit more, but taking the mask, right, she said I did get the mask out earlier, didn't I? Yeah. So if I took the mask out, I could put it over the top, and I could still do all the different techniques to create a background and protect the actual imagery underneath. So that means I could go and get something like the from the textures stencils, I could then put that in place and go over the top. That could be with the pencils or an ink, and I could create my background but still have subtle colouring. I just want to do something a little bit different first. So that is really vibrant, and I haven't actually put that much on there. As you saw, I didn't really put that much yellow at all. So a little goes a long way. They are highly pigmented. I'm going to do, what I thought would be nice is to do something a little bit different with them. And because they're pencils, it means now I can use this as a guide to add more colour and detailing. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a brown and I'm going to go around the edge, and I can go down the inside, and I'm just picking up where I think there would naturally be darker bits. And because I put this on with a sponge, it means those pencils have dried quite quickly. Now I can treat this as a leaf, which we'll do for this one. And I'm not going to do all of it. And it means I can go in to all the different edges. And I'm just going to get the red. I want to do a little bit of red. Doesn't matter whether you go circle or scribble side to side, the choice is yours. I'm just going to put some more red there. And then if we look at this one, so I'm looking at the shape I've got here, and to me, I've got this here, and I'm going to go around there, but that looks like it should be one flower, one seed head, one grass. Then I go down along the bottom here. I love this bit here. It's really quite crinkly, which is really cool. And then I thought, to me, there's another one here, so I'm just going to bring that bit in. And then finally there's the top one there. So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking the actual stencil and adding a little bit more detail into different areas. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of the red in places. I'm going to probably make it a bit darker down there. And this is my first layer, so I can keep building up, and I can be quite accurate as long as I keep the stencil in place. I'll show you what I mean. I'll take it away in a moment. And then let's just do a bit here, and that's where that bit comes down. Okay, so if you look, using the pencil, I've added that actual detail. The cadence spray is very good. Oh, Glynis, there's so many different ways. Dawn, sorry, it's not on YouTube. I can't get my streaming to work because I have to go via Leonie and pretend to be Leonie, and Leonie has something different to me. And I gave up fighting with it. And Leonie and I, neither of us are techie people. So as you can imagine, we got nowhere fast. Alison's right about the cadence stencil glue. So you can see I've put those pieces there, and because I've had the stencil in place, if you're not very confident in colouring or how you're going to lay down your colour, it's a great way of actually adding those details in really quickly. Now you could do this with your alcohol pens, but remember, it will probably, the alcohol ink may stain your stencil. Depends if you're precious about your stencils. I have to say this is relatively clean. But yeah, so I'm just looking to see where the pooch has gone. When he's quiet, I'm like, Right, I'm just going to grab some water. I don't know why it's on there. And then for the next bit, I'm literally just doing some water, but I'm going to take off as much of the water as I can. It's sounds really like a bit of a misnomer when you say when you want a dry brush, but you do. You want it as dry as you can get. I always put, it's not fully dry. It's a bit like when you've been swimming and you think you've dried yourself properly, and it's only when you put your clothes on and start to walk that you realise you're a little bit damp in places. So you will dip your paintbrush in a little bit more often because we're working in with hardly any water. And one of the other reasons we're working with hardly any water is it stops it seeping underneath the stencil. So So you can do it that way. Now, one of the other benefits about the pencils is that they will layer on top of each other, and yes, they will blend, but actually the colour on top is the one you'll see predominantly, which is brilliant and a little bit unusual for watercolours. So we'll just go and bring it that way. This bit here I will put a little bit more water on because it's nowhere near the edge of the stencil. And you can, I'm using a paintbrush. You could use one of the one that's already got the water inside. It's hit and miss with me with those. I either get too much water or not enough, but I do keep persevering. So now if I just bring that bit up there, and bring this bit here. I won't do all of it because I have already got one done that I can show you that you can carry on building. And also if I get stuck here in colouring, I'll get nothing else done. So I can you can put in as many layers or blend it out as much as you want. So, or spend as long as you want blending it out. I'm working on a mixed media card because I find with a mixed media card, watercolours doesn't always blend as well as it would do obviously on a watercolour paper, which means it gives you a little bit more playtime. So when I take it away, I've gradually now got a little bit of definition into the shapes, and they suddenly create an actual image that you've got together. So I can still go back over it now if I want to add a little bit more detail in a darker colour, or I can pick up the colour directly. So if I pick up the colour with a paintbrush and I want to put a bit more shading, I can pick up the colour directly from the watercolour pencils, and it'll be, as you can see there, a lot more intense. And you can carry on building your design. And then all we're doing is we're just adding a little bit of shape, or putting in what we imagine the shapes would have been before Leonie ceremoniously squashed them against a jelly plate. So we can go. And you can add as little or as much as you want. I can bring in the yellow, and I'm going to bring the yellow directly over the brown. And so it's a different way. So now you can create your own imagery rather than, so it actually has, it actually now suddenly from the original stencil that we did, it has a little bit more shape and definition, and it's a great way to practice with any mediums you've got. Where's my finished one? Did I do one? I did do one. What did I do with it? So, you know, you could carry on building. So as you can see, all I did was just carry on building, and suddenly the stencil now looks like it's a real grass. I could have changed the colours to green to make those leaves and this more flower-like, but I've just literally stuck to the same. So, you know, you can use your stencils, you know, in completely different ways, as well as using them for a stencil. I just wanted to show you something different to do with the stencil with the pencils. Right, let's put you to one side. Okay, let's tidy up. Right, now what I did want to do, now where is it? Now, one of the things I did when I got mine, so the leaf full is a big 8x8 stamp, all right? So what I decided to do was I decided that I would put cling mount on. Now, the only reason I put cling mount on is I want to use them in my journals, which then means I can use whichever shapes I want, and I actually cut all of them out. So altogether you get 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that's a dual one there, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 different leaf styles, shapes, just from that one sheet. So if the sheet is daunting to you, actually think about cutting up all the different imagery that you can. Oh, thank you, everyone. You could know all the different imagery that you can now of a big stamp sheet. So we can use them in lots of different ways. So what I wanted to do was create something. So that meant I could actually then create all the different layers using different coloured inks, because I can use different of the leaf stamps with a different ink colour. I could then position them and be more precise about where I wanted them to be. I could cut them out as embellishments, stamp them once and cut them out as embellishments. I even cut the stencil out with the bird and the twigs, only because I just thought it needed to. Has Leonie forgiven me? I think sort of thing she was surprised, sort of thing that I owned up to it, and all you lot saw. Glynis, I know I had to with that one. I had to. So, but then you see we're taking all the different leaves now. It means I can take all the different ones I want. If I don't want to clean and use, I can just leave my totally messy. I can stamp out, you know, whatever I want to do. Or I can take them and I can, where is it? Where am I looking for? You know when you say you're neat and then all of a sudden you're not. Where is it? Here, okay. Or I can take them and I can use them, and that means I can position one leaf wherever I want to position the one leaf, you know, to build up a scene. So, and work them however, you know, however I wanted to do. So that's what I wanted to do with these. So I just want to say, if you're daunted by them, do cut them up and work them out in a different way. Okay, I'm just going to grab, so I'm just going to grab my journal, because I'm going to work in my journal, and I'm going to use my Dilution small journal. Oh, let's move you over. And it's getting near the end, and I haven't taken any pages out of this journal, so it's quite thick. But you know, you can't beat an elastic band. I'm sorry, you can't beat an elastic band on a journal. I cut up some of my leaf gel prints. Oh, I've just cut the stamps up, Glynis. So this is just to show another idea with the stencils. I'm going to do something similar, but not. I'm just cleaning my paintbrush as I'm talking. So I've taken one of the texture stencils in the background and one of the leaf stencils, and I've built up my layers. And then this is one of the flower stencil that I've just used inks with, and I've cut them out to actually make them an embellishment in their own right. And the border strip is the same stencil on card, and I've just cut it in half to give myself like those faux little hills. Yeah, they are more versatile. It was just that I like to work predominantly in journals, and that's what I saw when I saw that that set, that it made it just easier for me to be able to work in journals. Right, so I thought we would do a journal page here. I'm just going to grab some clips. And we can keep the pages down. So I'm just going to put some clips just to hold it down, because obviously behind this page here is, as you can see, quite thick, and just to hold it down in different places. And I would like my stencil, and this is, I'm going to use this stencil with the bird on. I love that bird. I love this big bird. I'm going to use that one, and I want to use the texture wherever, and I had that literally seconds ago. Oh, there it is. I threw it to one side. Okay, so I just want to use the two together. They are the die. I'd be hard pushed to say I have a favourite journal. I'm going to say a journal that has an elastic band gets my vote all the time, she says. Right, I want to start off by layering down some colour. I'm going to use the pencils to begin with. And I'm just going to tip mine out because it's so much easier. And all I'm going to do is just scribble on some colour. Now, mine is because on the page below, obviously, has got lots happening. So I just want to have, you can see, look, where it all is there. Bring it looks like brass rubbing, which is cool. And this page will be completely different. Now you can use a clean blending sponge to blend the background in, or you can use a paintbrush. Go with what works for you. I'm just going to do that there, and I will bring in some darker blue down one side and the top, and we'll do the same up here. So I go quiet when I'm concentrating. Well, I'm not concentrating, but I'm starting to do colour mode, colouring. Right, let's grab a paintbrush. And I just want to start. So as you can see, it doesn't matter which way you put the pencils on. They'll blend out. I mean, I've just put down quite a light wash. I do want to use a heat tool, but because it's really hot here, we're back up to 26 here. I don't want to have the heat tool on for too long. So we go there. And I'm not worried about this being overly neat or not. And if you're worried about it going through to your other journal pages, just put a piece of card behind. Okay. And I'm just going to that's going to be my first quick background. Let's grab my heat gun and pray I plugged it in. I did. So and it won't take long to dry. I just need the excess moisture to go away. I don't need it to be 100% dry to do the next part. I just want, it just makes it easier for me when I want to do the next bit. Okay, so if I grab my stencil, I'm going to grab my blending brush, take this off, grab this one. And I'm just going to put a tiny bit of the water. And again, I'm just going to take the pencil. The more water you put on, obviously the runnier it'll be. And what I want to do is just move you across. I want to use this to gradually build up my background. And I'm sticking to the same colours because then it just looks, I don't know, for me it just gives the illusion of more layers, more depth. And what I'm doing is just following where I put the initial colour down, and we're going to do there. We're just going to go. Now what I'm doing now you could easily do with your inks. You don't. And we're just going to, so I'm just very quickly adding a bit. I'll just do a few more. I think I might be damp enough. Yeah. Yeah, so I've got a really subtle background building up with the actual stencil. They are, Alison, it's one of those things, you know, with the pencils. I think once you get your head round, you know, that they are just pure, oh, thank you, Patricia. You know, your head round that they're just pure pigment. You don't have to worry about the wood or anything like that, which means, you know, I was going to do that later, but it means I can sit there and I can put my pencil in the water. I won't do it now because I want to, well, I could do it in a minute. I can put my pencil in the water and I can, you know, colour and add colour that way. And I don't have to worry about there being wood in there and you know, and damaging the wood at all, which is brilliant. Let's see if I can get it to splat. I don't think I'll get this to splat because, no, I need to put it down. Right. I've got lots of pigment there I'm not going to waste. Let's just put them down in place and go. I use my finger for... There we go. See, I'm watering the colour down quite substantially. As it's pure, it, you know, it goes... There we go. So, how do I work out? Oh, Patricia, that is a really good question. Normally for me, for doing a background, I have an idea of where I want to start. Well, actually, first of all, I've got to decide if I want to leave any white space. And then I'll decide where I actually want to start and where I want to put different focal points. And from there, it's then thinking, right, so for example, if I'm going to be using the bird and I want them to stand out and I don't technically want to maybe use a black ink, does my background need to be light, heavier, and things like that? So I just try and work it out from there. Backgrounds don't have to be complicated. They could be just that, and then you add all your stamping on from there. It's completely, a background is what it says. If you stick to the same colours gradually and you're putting on the same colours on top of each other, gradually everything recedes into place as well. So it's playing around with different colours as well. Right, I'm going to get a stamp block in a moment, but for now I'm not. I'm going to use the red rubber stamp, and this is the leaf 4. And all I've done is I have dipped this in to my water, and I'm going to colour the stamp. Now, so for Patricia, I'm keeping everything the same colour, because if you do something like that, it means sort of thing, everything then becomes one and nothing stands out over and above the next one. And all I'm just going to do is, it's wet enough, or you can just do the old-fashioned huff. Alison, they are relatively permanent once dry. It does depend on how much you put down. If you put it down really, really heavily, no, they will carry on moving. If you leave it like I am doing, then no, they'll stay put. They're not, watercolours will move. They're not as bad as something like a Dilutions, which obviously Diane designed that it always would move regardless. So, so now I'm just adding some of the leaves in place. And said this is where I cut all the different leaves up. And I'm sticking to the same colour. I could spritz this, but I don't want it to be too wet. I want to be able to see some of the patination of the stamp design. And this is another way of, if you didn't want to sharpen your pencils, of if you keep rotating it round, you'll gradually get a point to it. I am putting under the pressure. You can put, these ones are pure pigment. If I bring the water here, you can see I'm literally putting the pencil in the water and then just picking it up. Any watercolour pencil that has a wood outer casing, no, I wouldn't recommend that at all, because obviously the water will travel up the wood and then that compromises the whole pencil. Whereas this, because it is pure pigment, it doesn't matter that I can put it in the water and just carry on that way. Now the other thing I could have done is use more than one colour for the, and we'll do that in a minute, and I could put 3 or 4 colours on in one go and do it. So, and I'm just going to I just want to do 1 or 2 more, and then I might spritz just to clean it. You just clean them as you would normally do with a bit of water and a rag. And we're just going to put one up there. So I've got that there. So if I spritzed it, I'm going to spritz this out of the way because I have cables. As you can see now, so if I spritz that, let's grab you in. Because I can spritz it to clean it, it will still be a little bit of pigment there, but it'll be more of a watery, so you'll get like a true watercolor effect, and it's still going. And I could probably spritz a little bit more. Before it all runs out. Okay, so that, you know, so you can spritz it if you want a more watery effect. You can put the pencil on and spritz. And then my stamp's clean. Put you back. Alison, you were asking, does it move once it's dry? This, I don't know if this is 100% dry. The paper's still a bit buckled. So it is moving, but not much colour is coming away. The bulk of the colour is still staying. But that was still damp though. So it wasn't 100% dry. I'll try it again in the morning. Right. Just going to give that a really quick. Oh, let's move you out of the way. So we've got a really quick background going on. Now we can use them with inks, so I'm going to bring them with ink to prove that you can use them with inks, because I know that's equally as important. So I could take the stencil, which is what I'm going to do now, and I could do exactly the same technique I did with, so if I did the technique that I did with this, you can use them on their side, Glynis, completely. Yeah, 9 times out of 10, yeah, you completely use them on their side. So I could take the bird image, and the way I did this flower, I could actually stencil through the bird and add, you know, more colour, more definition, highlight the difference between the tail, and, you know, put mock feathers on, you know, whatever you wanted to do. So you can actually do that, but I'm going to go for the silhouette. And as you can see, the pigment and they dry, and even if I put them all back together, even if they rest against each other, they soon clean up. Don't worry if they snap. I know I don't like purple, but this wasn't done in anger. You can still use it. That is still pure pigment. That is still pure pigment, and I can use either side to get the colour. Tim's ones have a little bit more of a chalky, because I think they've gone down the route to make them look and feel like they're more oxide based. So the oxide has the mixture of the pigment and the what's it called, has a mixture of the pigment and the dye together, so it does work, you know, that way. Right, okay, I'm looking for my inks. Right, I'm dreadful. I was tidying up the other day and I'm not going to use oxides. I'm going to use Versacraft, and oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that I got these ink pads, and look, they're still in their storage boxes that I bought them in. And the main reason I bought them a long time ago was so I could do a t-shirt, because with Versacraft you can stamp on fabric. Once it's dry, you just heat set it with an iron. You can send me the purple one. Trust me, yeah. Right, okay, so I want to, what I'm going to do is I'm just planning where I want to start the bird image, and I'm just going to put it around about there. Okay, now I'm going to use a little bit of tape, only because I'm working on the side of my journal, and as you can see, it looks like it's going up a hill, and that just stops that for the moment. Okay. As you can hear, Murphy doesn't like who's outside. So I'm just going to use the Versacraft because it's an oil-based pigment. It means it is really, really, really opaque. And then I get a different contrast going over the watercolour pencils. There we go. Can you believe that? That was Mr. Amazon Man arriving with my cradle. Oh well. So I'm just going to build up the colour where I want the colour to go. As I said, I could have used the watercolour pencils, but I just wanted to show that you can still use your inks. It can be, and we've got that there. And I'm just going to flip this over and hold it. So now, as you can see, I've got the silhouette, and I really wanted it to be quite opaque against the actual background. No neons. I'm not going to use neons. So, you know, it could go, so it looks quite opaque against the background rather than like the translucent effect I'm getting from the watercolour pencils. Oh, I've just seen the time. Sorry, everybody. I spent so long waffling. And I want to grab, oh, another one of the stamps, and I'm going to stick to the Versacraft. And whilst this is here, just want to add a little bit of detail. Now, because they're pigment, it means the other one will sit on top of each other, and it gives me a little bit of, I can add a little bit of texture or detail into the bird image using the stamp to create that. And that's one of the benefits of more of an oil-based pigment. I can still emboss with it, and I do lots of different things like that as well. Okay, so we've got that there, and then we've got, so I can gradually go over the top. Always, well, they were meant to be here by 5 o'clock, but obviously I'm not going to moan. So I've just got a little bit building on from there, and then I want to take some of the other branches that we've got, and I want to start building those in, and I'm going to stick to the same ink colour. And okay, and you can start lightly and get darker. I've got that little bit there. I'm just building it up, so I'm just looking at different parts of the stencil that I can add the design to. We've got that. Sorry if I've gone quiet. I'm trying to be conscious of where the camera is as well, because I can't move it to keep my, so if my head gets in the way, I apologise. So I'm just building up a little bit of a scene. Use pink. Yeah. So no, so we're just building up a little bit of a scene, and I'm just going to carry on just in places. Let's do it this side. Let's take you guys off. And I'm just going to wipe the stencil because I want to use it the other way round. And I'm not going to put it on a spare piece of card. Leonie's not here to tell me off, so I'm cool. And I just want to put a little bit here. So there we go. Right, so I've got those building up like that. Let's just put the lid that on. Once these are dry, Alison, yeah, they're permanent. They are completely and utterly permanent, the Versacraft. You don't need to heat set them, they'll dry naturally. They might take a little bit longer because they've got more of an oil base to them. but they are absolutely permanent. But they are. So we've got a little bit of a scene building up like that, and now this is where I'm going to grab a few. Let's put you away. So look at me tidying up as I go along. And I want to now start building up a few and building up the background a little bit more. And I want to grab some of the leaf false stamps that I took away. And this is why I took them off. It meant that I can then use them in completely different ways. Okay, let's do you guys. And let's get the blue. So to tie in the background, I'm going to use the same stamp. And now I'm not over inking this. I'm just going to put on what goes on. And I can bring in a little bit of a background. Let's put you down there. They are water reactive whilst wet, these ink pads, but once they're dry they are well and truly dry. And we'll just have a little bit going there, and all I'm just going to do is just wipe it off. The only reason I'm wiping it off is just in case I want to use it with a watercolour pencil again, and having the oil base there, oil and water as they say. Let's put you back, and then I just want to grab this. Do I want to do this one? I want a bigger one. I want a bigger stamp. I want to be greedy. Let's do this one. And this time I want to add a few of the greens. And I'm going to bring the water in. Actually, no, we'll do it. I feel like I'm doing a Leonie now, going off tangent. I'm going, oh, no, I want, no, I want, no, I want. Add a little bit of the green. And I've gone for a lighter green. Do the same with your oxides, and all I want to do is I just want to build up my background of the leaves. Ooh. Go along. So it just looks like it's in a canopy. The Hobbycraft shops, from what I can gather from Hobbycraft, is a lot of the shops that are closing apparently were the ones that there was another shop nearby, so they felt, you know, that they were competing for each other, so that's how they made the decision. I think I'll be cutting mine up. I have some so and that was the reason why some of them were closing, or that's how they were earmarked for closure. Right, so very quickly I've just created like a different sort of canopy effect. Okay, you can use the VersaFine Clair. Yeah, VersaFine Clair will work exactly the same way. I just had these out and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got all these and I haven't used them. Well, I did use them. I used them to make a t-shirt, and I'm that way, but I didn't use them since then, which is really wrong of me. So they're out on my desk. Now we've got some smaller little branches, you know, that could easily go over the top, and we could fill these out and make it look more. We could, can you hear the dog barking at nothing? We could actually stamp these out, cut them and add them as collage pieces, which is what I might do. So can you hear him? Right, let's just grab a piece of card and we'll stamp a few of these out and cut them out quickly. York moved to smaller premises. Some of the stores were huge, weren't they? The one we've got near us is in Cambridge, and it was cavernous. Mind you, I can't remember the last time I was in it, so Right, I've gone for a cream card rather than a white because I thought that would be nice to go with the journal. Okay, so you could put yours on a block. I'm just not going to rummage around for a block. That's why I'm just stamping mine on a card. There we go. Oh, thank you, Patricia. So I've got that there, and I'm just going to use my cloth to wipe off the excess ink. Oh, something's definitely got the dog all worked up. And let's go for a darker blue on this one. Okay. Put that there. You can put your ink and obviously your card on top and rub it that way. But for speed, I'm turning mine over. There we go. Let me just take that. So we can very quickly, you know, we can make some embellishments. So I will use those in a moment. I'll just put them to one side. And then what I wanted to do to carry on building up the scene was I wanted to take this beautiful bird stencil here and have it, you know, coming in the sky. But I want to build him up. I want him to be I don't know if I want him to be the dark blue or something completely different. I'm really tempted with going for greys and blacks with him. And I'm going to start with the watercolour pencils. Became electronic cutting machine, cake making, home decor. Hobbycraft stocking more of their own, but yeah, a lot of companies stock their own. So I'm reading all the comments and I'm just like, oh yeah, yeah. Another Amazon parcel. No, I don't think so, hopefully. Right, now, before I spritzed, but you can put your pencil in your water, you know, if you prefer to do it that way. So I'm just going to go over the top. Because I want to pounce this. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? I want to pounce this. There we go. So I've got a bit of a silhouette of the bird coming in. I'm just going to put a bit more. So as I said, you can spritz your sponge or you can dip. As you can see, dipping it in the water and putting it on the sponge means I get more intensity of colour. So ours are always in out of town shopping centres, our Hobbycraft, and to get to some of them, oh, it's just the roads. Getting in and out of Cambridge at the best of times can, you know, feel like an expedition. And if I go in park and ride, it's completely the other side. Right, so I've got the silhouette building up, but then what I want to do is I do want to take the pencil and just create a little bit more of a shadow. I'm away with the fairies, as it were, now, creating oh, Coleman's. Oh, yeah. I haven't been to the stamp a lot in years. Right, so all I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit more of extra shading along there. And I can darken it down. And I'm just taking off the excess water like I did before. Now, I'd say you could do this with an ink pad, but I quite like the idea of it has a little bit of a ghost shadow to it. And I'm going to go back over and pounce it now I've made it all wet. Spritz you. Oh, Glynis, I mean, obviously mine are well used. I've used mine for, there are so many different ways you can use them. Right, I'm just gonna, now this is probably a little bit too damp now, and I'm hoping it doesn't run underneath the stencil. Soon find out. So, I mean, I've got enough on here. If you didn't want to dip your pencil into your water to cover your stamp, what you've got on there, I don't know whether I've got enough. I can actually use as if it was an ink pad if you didn't want to put your pencil directly on. And it will stamp that way. It's horses for courses how you prefer to use it. I just got used to dipping mine straight in the water and just colouring that way. Right, okay, so we've got that building up as such. I'm just going to wipe the stencil because if I leave the black on there, when I go and use it with a lighter colour, I'll end up with a gunk. Oh, the dog is still going strong at someone or something. Right, okay, I'm not going to dwell too long on this page because I will finish it off. I just wanted to show you some different techniques with it. So let's just grab a pair of scissors. Now, I know this is Marmite to people. I always cut leaving a small border, very rarely to the edge. Habit. And I think the habit actually is from when I was at school teaching, because it was a quick way to add a border to a child's work if we didn't have time to always mat and layer it. And it's just stuck with me ever since. So what I've done is I've just created some other embellishments just to show you, because I want to do one or two more with the stamps as well. Right, okay. So there we go. Oh, I know what he's barking at. Next door's cat's coming to say hello. She's telling her cat off, I can hear. Right, so let's put that there. So now I can carry on building up. I will cut these out and start building them up a bit more rather than sit here all night and cut them out. Let's just do a quick cut around that just to get the rough shape. And then I'll finish this off and add a sentiment. So even here where I've got the bird, I could have it so the bird was peeking through as if they were going to swoop down. I can build up the canopy. I probably wouldn't do as much as that, but you can get the idea. I would probably put a little bit more background, but I just wanted to show you different ways to use the pencils within a journal. And I will finish off that page, and I will, because I want to do something more with the bird and add some more colour, but I need him to dry a bit more. Christine is horses for courses with scissors. I prefer larger than smaller. I do use smaller, but 9 times out of 10 I'll use larger. So I will finish off that page, but it was just to show you how you can make a really quick background, using the pencils in lots of different ways, and also you can then combine your inks. So I will finish that and share that later. I'm just finding a place to put you. Let's put you up there for now on the shelf. Okay. Because I just wanted to show a couple more ideas. Okay, let's put you away. Now, one of the things I have done is, where is it? I prefer to cut my stamps out, okay? this one that I haven't mounted, and this is the looking up. So I cut mine out, and I even went round these bits here, and the main reason I went round these bits is then I can ink just that bit and use it as an embellishment part to put on a stamp. But I just wanted to do something a little bit different with this stamp. So yes, it is a large stamp. I mean, you don't have to cut into all the little bits like I've done, but that's just me. That's just what I prefer. Prefer to cut with... No, horses for courses. I'm looking for my old Versamark, because I don't... There we go. So like I said, I've cut this out. You don't have to. You can still use it as is. I've left it unmounted as well, because I want to get around to using it on the jelly plate. And all I want to do is I'm just going to ink it up with a Versamark. And so this is an old one, and I've deliberately gone for an old ink pad because I want an impression, but I'm not going to be worried if I miss bits. And that'll be, that just gives me that. Sorry, the mat was bouncing up and down, so I'm just putting my hand down on it to... Okay. And I cut in advance just 2 pieces of card, and what I want to do is I want to take, and this means I can decide where I would like the card to go. So I'm going to put one, let's put one like that, and then we'll have the other one so it's coming down like that. Now I find it easier to cut my card rather than have one background and cut it in half. And the main reason is I end up arguing with myself about which piece I like and which piece I want to use and which piece I don't use. So that's got a little bit on there. And then this one's got a little bit on here. You could use a brayer if you want to, but your hands are just as good. Okay, so we've got that there. And I'll put... Let's file you, and what I have got out, once it's you over there, is I've got some of the Art Inspirations embossing powder. So I'm going to do them in 2 different ways. So I've got the gold. Now I didn't use an anti-static bag because I always forget, but then I'm not bothered. I think sometimes it's lovely if you're doing something that's a little bit grungy or a little bit more mixed media. Actually, not using an anti-static bag means you get all your little bonus fingerprints. If it really bothers you, just take a paintbrush and knock them off. I quite like the idea. I might not have a full fingerprint though. I'll just do that. I don't want too many straight lines. There we go. Right there. Just knock that back a bit. There we go. Okay, so that one's done in gold. Put you back. I'm going to put the lid on straight away before I forget, because that'll be, oh. And then this one is the clear. And obviously seeing clear embossing powder on a creamy piece of card isn't probably the best viewing. Right, so we've got that there. And we'll put that there. Good night, Carol. Oh, embossing powder is another underrated. I think we should do a live on the 101 things you can do those. Okay, right. There is just so much you can do with an embossing powder. So I'm just going to move that around a bit. Okay. Now I wouldn't normally waft the heat tool around, but because I moved some of it, I just want to catch the loose bits quickly to the card, and then I'll go through to the other bits. Yeah, so I'm just using the gold. Turn it around before I burn my hands. Okay, we got that one. I'll do this one. This one's obviously going to be trickier to see because I decided to use clear. And I've got to tip it to an angle so I can see if I caught the powder or not. I wouldn't be embossing earlier today, it was so warm. Alright, there we go. Just let them cool down just a little bit. I'm just reading the... Oh, that's lovely to know. They're the best embossing powders. Oh, the Frantage ones. Oh, beautiful. I know who makes them, Alison. Secret squirrel. Right, okay, so I've got the... So it's taken that large stamp, and if I put the two together, not that you can see the clear, that's the whole of it, but I wanted to use it in two completely different ways. And I wanted to create some different backgrounds with it. And I'm going to start, I'm going to use the pencils to begin with on this one here, and this I would cut down, and I'm just going to take the blue and I've got the gold there, and I'm just going to cover it. And I'm going over very, very lightly. Obviously you can put a lot more depth. And I'm just going to use a darker blue. Sorry. And reluctantly I'm going to use a bit of purple. No, I just want to use it with the blue. I'm not... Okay, so if I take a sponge this time, possibly, Julie, possibly. Okay, so all I've done with the sponge is I've wet the sponge. So if you didn't want to use your paintbrush, just to show a different way you could do it, we can then use the sponge. Now the sponge, depending on how much water, sponge is a great way if you haven't got the time, because you will probably put slightly less water on your sponge than you probably will on a paintbrush, which means your project dries a little bit quicker. Okay. So we've got our background building up really, really quickly. Leonie will tell us. Ranger launches, right. I can tell you a little bit about a Ranger launch, only because I get involved in them. Ranger are incredibly secret squirrel. When they tell suppliers about a launch, you near enough sign your life, your wives, your cousins, your aunts, uncles, sons, daughters, whatever, away to actually be able to do the launch. It is that secret squirrel. If anyone is found to break any of it in any way, shape or form, you will not be included in the next one. They are that strict. Right, so very, very quickly, I've got the gold embossing powder with the pencils, and I just want to add a little bit more detail. Is that damp enough? No. So you can blend out the pencils with a sponge. Right, and I just want to now, I'm going to use, oh, purple, and I'm going to put there, and I can actually use, I'm just going to use it as if it was an ink pad and ink the edges, just because I want to add a little bit more colour in places. And I'll use the same sponge, but we'll put a bit of blue. So you can use the same sponge and add a little bit of colour. This time I haven't put as much water on, as you can see. So I'm just going to use my finger. So I can put it along the edge and create as if I'm using an ink pad. I'll spritz that in a moment. I can quickly create another background. I've probably got enough on there to do a little bit more. Let's pick up this on my mat. And I would let it dry before I use my dirty cloth on it. But very quickly, so that's taken from that large stamp with a bit of embossing, a couple of colours of the pencils, and you've got yourself a really inky background. Change it. I mean, I'd trim it down there, change it to make it look completely different. So if we do this one in a completely different way, I'm just going to clean the mat because I've got blue on it, and we'll do this one, you know. All right, so like I said, I wash my sponges. An old sock works wonders. Let's get a bit of red. Okay, and I'm sorry, I do it away. Now, doing it away from me is a real habit from when we were on air, because 9 times out of 10 the electrics would be here beside you, and you didn't want to spritz any water near the electric. So I got into the habit of moving to one side. So I don't mean to do it off the edge of the page. I'm just looking for a scrap piece of paper just to put this under just for the moment. So what I'm going to do is, now this is the one that I did the clear. If I move my finger out the way, and I should have got 2 handles out, but never mind. And this time I'm going to use the yellow. And to join them, I'm just going to do a little bit of a swirl, and I'll go over with the pink in a moment. Get the pink ready. 2 handles would have been better, but there we go. Sorry, that straight line is bugging me. That's why I'm going over the top of it a little bit. And I'm just taking it off the actual clear embossing. Now you could carry on building that, but very, very quickly you can create a different sort of background. So don't think the large stamps that you can't do smaller projects or as equally big steady with the purple. Look, I am not a purple person at all. I try and use it, and the operative word is try. So let's take a little bit of this, and let's take this stencil here. Main reason it's in front of me. I'm just going to dip this in the water, and we can have this quite dark. And then what I'm going to do is take the yellow, and I'm just going to put the yellow around the edge. And I'll show you that on a clean sponge. It'll probably be easier. And all it's doing is, instead of being red, it is creating an orange straight away for me. And we'll just blend that bit out so it's not quite so harsh. So I can carry on building up my backgrounds. I'm just going to wipe that back because obviously that's clear embossing. And we can carry, you know, you could carry on building and building your different backgrounds. And because I've got the embossing behind it, it's actually acting as a beautiful resist. So it can work in lots of different ways. The same, I could do it on that one there. But you can very quickly create different backgrounds. So I did that. I just want to show you some of the ones I did quickly. So doing exactly the same technique and using the flower stencil, I went over it and did exactly the same colours. I've then taken some of the pencil shavings and put them on and blasted them, dropped them into the water. And that's where you get all of that look, bit like, what they called, a mica powder. And I've just built up the colours from like a deep red to a brown, and then I've used the yellow over the top. And I used the mask just to create the ghost light. But you can see that's the tree, but I used the white embossing powder this time, and then stamped in between it. So you can create as much or as little drama as you want. Or alternatively, you can go totally the opposite way. So it's exactly the same, but this time I have embraced my inner purple. And used it, but I've used the bird, and suddenly it becomes, if I lift it up, would it be better, wouldn't it? And I'll show you the other one lifted up. And I've done exactly the same, built it up with all the different layers of watercolour. I put a little bit of salt technique, you know, where we put the salt on. And then I've just added on some of the ephemera. Got it, and then it suddenly becomes a Halloween card, whereas that one is more of a background that I don't really want to do anything with, and I'm keeping it as is. So taking that was doing, but I put these on tags rather than doing them on pieces of card. So you can, I would cut this down and you could then decorate it and put it on a card. I would keep building on this one though, because I've done that background, and I would need to, my head says you need to do a bit more with that. Okay, so there's lots of different ways, you know, you can use the pencils and use the big stamps in completely different ways with the different things we've got in our stash. Right, okay, now I've just seen the time and I've kept you for an hour and a half. I was going to do another demo, but I think time has probably beaten us, and I don't want to keep everybody. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit, very much so. So this was using, using the, one of the stamps, the long DL stamp. And sorry, Mandy, again, you know, I'm dreadful. I can't even remember my own stuff that I do 9 times out of 10. The circle print. And I've stamped that with the watercolour pencils. So, and where they went over, it made like the yellow. And then where I've done the separate leaves, I have stamped them with ink. But I've punched out the other shapes, coloured them, and then stamped the loose leaves inside the butterflies. So it all matched up that way. And then just a few little sprinklings of sequins. Or this is on book pages. And all I've done is stamped the same stamp. And using the watercolour pencils, I've just gone around the outside and picked 1 or 2 of the areas. And when it was dry, I took the flower stencil and texture paste. But I really put the texture paste on so it could be opaque, semi-opaque, semi-translucent, semi-opaque, and just finished with a sentiment. So you can use the pencils in so many different ways, you know, just treat them like they're a dye-based ink, but in a pencil form. I hope that just gives you a few ideas that, you know, that you can do, you know, with your both your pencils and your stamps. Oh, that was another background I started. She said, I'm just grabbing some of the things that I made, and I still, the big stamp, the big leaf, oh, I've got plans for that. I have plans for that. So there we go. Mandy, I'm more than happy to send up my bits and pieces that I've done if you want to add to homework bags, and I can put them in the post to you. Thanks everybody for your time. Thanks Mandy and Leonie for always asking me. It's lovely to see everybody, and have a really, really, really good week. It's meant to get a little bit cooler, which is just a Billy bonus for all concerned. Take care, everyone, and thanks again, Mandy. Thanks again, Leonie. Bye.